Some journeys don't begin with a passport. They begin with a mind that won't stop asking how things work. Introduce our next guest, Tyrone. Welcome
Yes,
to the Scholars Table.
yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for this opportunity to be on the show. School rules, cultural identity. There was a conflict between cultural identity and what the rules demanded.
Engineering, you often don't judge system by how it looks when conditions are perfect. You judge it under stress.
I noticed artisans, they have this carbon rod, the D
Mhm.
cell type of batteries. And so I would use a copod to solder. That was about 13, 14, thereabouts. And so I kept playing with more components, diodes.
So in this conversation, we are going to walk through blueprint, what his early training in Ghana looked like, what the Achimota experience taught him about resilience and focus, how he prepared to make the leap towards undergraduate engineering, and what life at UPenn really demands. Our structure, workload, mentorship, and the habits that separate survival from thriving. Good
Yes.
afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Scholars Table. Today's story starts in Ghana, where brilliance is everywhere, but the runway can be short. And it moves through a moment when a classroom door became a national argument about identity, rules, and belonging. Not a metaphor, a real gate. He turned curiosity into circuitry and persistence into proof, assembling a working computer core from the ground up. And now, currently in his second year in the most competitive engineering environments in the US and also the world. So, in this conversation, we are going to walk through the blueprint, what his early training in Ghana looked like, what the Achimota experience taught him about resilience and focus, how he prepared to make the leap to US undergraduate engineering, and what life at UPenn really demands class structure, workload, mentorship, and the habits that separate survival from thriving. So, without wasting much time, introduce our next guest, Tyrone. Welcome
Yes.
to the Scholars Table.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for this opportunity to be on the show. Excited. Excited to be on this show.
Yeah, and I remember coming to Penn to come and check up on you during your first year. And
Mm,
immediately, I mean, when I got there, I realized how busy the environment is. As an
so busy.
undergrad engineering student, there's no time to waste. But for people
Yes.
who are meeting you for the first time, um, I mean, in a minute, maybe who is Tyrone and what do you want to be known beyond the Achimota story that came up a couple of years ago?
That's a good question. So, um, most importantly, the Achimota story is one that I can't take out, regardless. But beyond that, I am a computer engineering student here at the University of Pennsylvania, and my core principle is to build from first principle. In everything that I do or every circuit that I learn about, I want to understand it from the ground level up. Ground level up, where if I see a processor, if I see a circuit design, I want to understand everything and nothing should look like a black box. So those are my core principles. And secondly, to build. Yes, I take that from Professor Elsiefa Kaufman. So in one of her TED Talks, where she mentioned as an engineer, you should build because you could learn engineering, learn the theory, and at the end of the day, you can't build. But inherently, that's what the field is about. And so,
Hmm.
beyond the Ashmota story, I want to be known as a builder, an engineer.
Okay. So, I mean, I know a lot of people got to know you, during the Achimota controversy and
Yes.
how things pan out. But I want us to, move a bit beyond the Achimota story. But before we move on, maybe you can perhaps summarize, your experience in Achimota, how you ended up picking is it ICT instead of biology, and how that
Yeah.
single decision has driven your journey to engineering.
So if it's the first time that you're hearing this story, what happened is in Ghana, I wrote the high school entrance exams. So after scoring grade six, which is it's grade six, I was placed into my first choice, which is Achimota School. But the general policies are that you need to cut your hair before a school can enroll you. So although I was admitted to pass that quality check, I needed to cut my hair. But then there was a conflict between identity, cultural identity, and what the rules demanded. So it got into the media. There were a lot of insightful conversations as to school rules over uh, cultural identity, or what is the resolution. And so it went to court, after which the case was decided. I got into Achimota School. I think I missed the entire first semester. Um, So the first day I went into the school was actually exams. They had started exams already, like 30 minutes into the first paper. That was my first day experience. And from there, the thing is, originally intended to study biology at Achimota School, with a long term goal to participate in the National Science and Math quiz. But the biology classes were full. Biology is a very demanded field of study at Achimota School, and I think in a lot of top schools as well. So I had to study elective ICT. So elective ICT is what I did. Graduated studying elective ICT general science, and got all A's. Took the SATs, and I arrived here at the University of Pennsylvania to study a more robust one, which is computer engineering, a more robust version of the ICT I did.
Yeah, but I mean, come to think of it, what was the original plan for you? I mean, if you had taken biology, what would have been your original plan? Was it still to do computer engineering, or you were thinking something health
Yeah,
related?
I have to be honest, I would have done engineering regardless. And why I
Okay.
say that is, way before Achimota School, my family life was that we were living on a bus. So some things that I explored and experimented with were kind of solutions. We
Mm-hmm.
needed to charge our phones, for instance. We needed to have lights, and all those were things I, in quotes, engineered, because I realized you could have a mobile phone battery, and that mysteriously could power LED lamps. So as long as those batteries were charged, you could have lights in the house. So these were systems that I was running for like 2 3 years that we stayed on the bus. And
Mm-hmm.
beyond that, there are several things that I played with, like soldering. I didn't have a soldering iron, and so I noticed artisans, they have this carbon rod in the
Mm-hmm.
D cell type of batteries, and so I would use a copot to solder. That was about 13, 14, thereabout. And so I kept playing with more components, diodes. I remember one funny story where I thought I had invented a bridge rectifier, only to learn that it's something that exists. But some way, somehow, I know, I just, played with it until it felt intuitive how a bridge rectifier works.
Yeah.
Um, and my dad also exposed me to wind generators. So at the forefront, I was definitely going to go into engineering,
Engineering.
maybe
Okay.
electrical or something, but biology for NSMQ, because that was actually the only default science program I had heard of.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. So, I mean, at what point did you decide you were going to the US? Is it your final year? Is it even before you started your senior high school journey?
Yes, so this is a part of the story that I needs to be spoken more about.
Uh-huh.
At the point of getting into Achimota school, and just after my first year, I had absolutely no knowledge of um, how college admissions work. When I say no knowledge, zero knowledge, I didn't even know there was a test called an SAT. And my impression was you probably be home and someone will knock at your door that here's a scholarship to study. That's what I knew. So there was one man, Mr. Akins, he's in Ghana. So he runs a consult in Ghana where he trains a lot of top students to get into top schools. And it's something he's been doing for the last decades. So he was
Mm-hmm.
like, Tyrone, come. And so what he did was that he funded everything with respect to the SAT. So that is when I got to know that something like that existed. I was in second year by then. So shortly after, meeting Mistakings, I actually moved to stay with him, like to stay at the consult. And
Okay.
he made sure I got all the books. And I remember one time he took me to the this bookshop. It was like everything you need. It was like his personal project that you need to take the SAT and you need to leave. So that is my first introduction to SAT and college applications in general. He exposed everything. And from there, we did the college applications, which looks like one process, but somehow they're actually two different processes, SAT and college applications. So at the point of college applications, there were even more support from YAF, Ghana, and that's Mr. Ferdinand Quayson. So he also came with a lot of support to finalize everything like the essays, activities,
Mm-hmm.
everything that is required for a wonderful application. So that was
Yeah.
my
So
experience with them. Yeah.
So I mean, so it comes down to mentorship and guidance,
Yes.
knowing
Yes.
how your journey is going to look like. I mean, in
Mhm.
most institutions, before a student graduates high school, they are
Yes.
aware of the potential routes they could take. So, as you said,
Yes.
mentorship is a critical
Mhm.
element. Now, I
Yes.
mean, your second year, University of Pennsylvania, computer engineering. I want you to paint us a real, like, what a real week look like for you as a student during classes, like lectures, what kind of things you do, how many hours, how many hours in a class versus like independent work. What is the picture looking like? And I
Mhm.
know you had a bit of
Yeah.
experience at the tertiary level for a couple of months. What
Yes.
what what is your experience here compared to what you experience in Ghana?
Think my experience here is um, you need to spend more out of class time working on either assignments or a project or something. Because the frequency of classes that we have are actually chill. If you look at my schedule, um, Mondays, Wednesdays, I have three classes. Thursdays and Tuesdays, one class, and Fridays, one long lab session. But as outside class, there are assignments which you can't finish in, let's say, half an hour. It takes a while if you need to understand it deeply. Sometimes 3, 4 hours, sometimes six. I've spent 10 hours on one assignment before, and there are four classes I'm taking every semester. And as an international student, I work on campus. So I put everything together. And when I'm working on additional projects like an ALU or any other project, so at the end of the day, you have roughly 4 or 5 hours free to yourself that you can walk around, maybe catch up with family on a phone call, take a
Mm-hmm.
walk, or sleep additional or read a book. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, in your opinion, what is the biggest difference for you between how you were taught in Ghana versus how you are taught in the US? I know you've made mention of one difference
Mhm.
where you spend most of your learning beyond the classroom. What other differences do you think you've picked up experiencing both an engineering class in the US and
Mm,
engineering session?
I have to be honest. My experience at Ashesi, because Ashesi is closely related to a lot of the curriculum that we run here, so
Yeah.
it is very similar, at least for computer engineering. Um, but what I felt was different was Hmm. I think the different class combinations that you could have,
Hmm.
because here one semester you could go wild and say, I know I'm doing computer engineering, but I want to do psychology. I also want to do maybe ethic. I mean, ethics is a default class, but I want to do maybe pre-law. I want to do something, a course that is definitely not related to computer engineering. You get to do that, although you can do same in Ghana, but the variety here, that is
Hmm.
one.
Hmm.
And two, I don't know if it's me, but I feel like with the classes that I take, it's like the intro is more about what is possible. Because if you look at the ALU that I built, ordinarily, if you've taken any computer architecture class, you should be able to build one. But when we started, the first thing I heard, it was freshman year, and I took a computer architecture class. And the first statements were, "We are going to build a CPU at the end of this class." I was like, "Wait, you? I didn't know you could do that, honestly." So that statement alone, I didn't even end up taking that class. I was in freshman year then, and I took it in sophomore year. So that statement alone, I was like, okay, fine. I just heard you can build a computer by yourself, so I'm going to build one. It's very similar to my experience with Mistake Kids. The fact that, oh, so apparently nobody's going to knock at your door and present a scholarship to you. You have to work hard. Okay, fine. We are going to take mentorship and do it. So I think that is my difference. I'm certain it is in Ghana in most lectures, but it's it feels more clear here in
Yeah.
intro classes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And how has your experience been with maybe accessibility to professors, accessibility to teaching assistants? How is that relationship built? Because for most
Yeah.
international students, that is also one of our shocking moments to know that the
Yes.
professors are always available and they're like, ready to help, ready to jump on a call, come to the office, let's talk. How has that experience also been?
It's been wonderful. And when I was in freshman year, I discovered um office hours. I never went to office hours in freshman year, and that's because I wasn't sure what to use that time for.
Mm-hmm.
Because the experience in Ghana is, if you do not understand something, that's why there's a library. That's why there's you have Google. Now we have a lot of AI. So that level of independence, if beyond all these tools you're unable to find a solution to your problems, then it must be a really big problem. But I never ran into a problem like that to want to visit office hours in my freshman year. It was a horrible choice that I did, because it's inefficient. It's
Mm-hmm.
just inefficient.
Hmm.
You spend too much time when you could just ask a simple question.
Yeah.
So in sophomore year, I made sure I added office hours times to my calendar, go to professors once in a while, and they're always so happy to help. I think my first office hours was with one of my engineering classes. Talking to my professor, and then so the professor made it clear that it's kind of my job to make sure you are doing well. I was like, really?
Hmm.
I didn't
Yeah.
even know that. I thought it. So all those were little things that I wondered. It is their job to make sure
Yeah,
you.
that's true. So what has been your hardest adjustments? You've been here 2 years.
Mm.
Academic pressure, social life, diet, food, whatever. What has been your hardest adjustment to the US?
I think the easy picks are food. It's hard to get Ghanaian food, and as much as I'm trying my best to adjust, I grew up in Ghana, and at some point, I need to eat Ghanaian food to function properly. So, food is one, and I try my best to cook on campus as often as I can. And other things are perhaps social life. The thing is, I can't really have a social life, sleep for 8 hours, and study properly. Some way, somehow, 24 hours does not feel enough. And it's almost like you need to pick two at a time. Either you pick studies and sleep and less social life, or you pick social life and maybe sleep and your studies struggle. So I'm certain that is everywhere, but for me it's a bit hard. And I think the social life is wild, it's fun, but for the type of person I am, very reserved, it might feel too wild for me to take in. Like the parties are loud and
Hmm.
wild, which is fun, but it's just not my thing. So
Okay. And I think you also mentioned that you are more like working. You have an on-campus job. Is that it?
yeah,
Okay.
yes.
So what does that process looks like, and what are some of the jobs you are doing as a student?
So the process, I think most international students come in with a work study grant in their scholarship package, which allows them to work fully on campus for 20 hours max while school is in session. So the process isn't too hard. There's a portal with all the available jobs on campus. You apply, and if you're a fit, maybe you do an interview or you start working, something like that. For me, my first roles are administrative assistant. So my job is to enter data, is to keep track of students' entry time, exit time, and enter that into an online database. The little automation, Python stuff, and Selenium. And my second job was a teaching assistant.
Okay.
CS 1100 was a programming class teaching assistant. And there was also a teaching job, but that was more like for the passion because, again, the experience with mistakings and the console was that I was teaching SAT with him, SAT math. So even if when I'm there, there's a need to teach to function properly. So I teaching assistant on campus and a CS teaching uh teaching assistant like an instructor but off campus. So it's run by the School of Engineering, but we go off campus to teach high school students Python. For most of them, it's their first time programming. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I want to be there to make sure students are learning programming for the first time too. So those are my main on campus. Wait, do I have no? That's about it. In
Oh, okay. So it's 20 hours a week,
20
max
hours
one
max,
class a
all
session.
combined in
Yeah, I think
one.
it's same for even graduate level education.
Mhm.
All right. So I mean, if a student is watching you right now, so let's say somebody is in junior high school or even senior high school, what are the top 5 steps they should start this month if they are thinking of getting into the best programs in the world?
Well, my best advice, I know it's hard, but I would advise that they figure, like, they have some form of structure. That helps because a lot of students can reach out sometimes and say, I want to get into a school outside, but they don't know what they want to study. So it makes it hard whether to tell them to, because they don't know whether they want to do law, they don't know whether they want to do medicine or they want to do engineer. They just don't know what they want to do at all. So without that, it makes it hard to tell them. I just know the SAT is a part of it, but then it makes it hard to pick the school that they want to study because every school has its requirements. Maybe um, school A is all about innovators, people who are building. School B is more about people who are fighting for a cause, and school C is all about this. if you're able to find a general structure, it's not that you are certain I want to become an electrical engineer. No, but you should have some form of category that I want to be an engineer. I don't know what kind of engineering I want to do, but I want to work with my hands. Or I don't know what kind of law I want to do, but I want to be a lawyer. That first line I think is very important. It's more important than I thought. It makes things hard. So they can start from there. And the second thing is the SAT and the academics. I mean, despite um, the personal statement and everything else, academics very important. Um, and I think the third thing is definitely their experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of them either they wait or they just did not know that you need actual experiences that demonstrate your passion. It's not something you can do in the last few months of
Yeah.
college application. Yes. So if you are passionate about engineering, we're not saying build like a tech hub or a nuclear reactor, but do something that demonstrates you love engineering. There are a lot of programs like the Ghana Science and the GSTEM program. That is what I did.
Okay.
If you enjoy engineering, at some point you will naturally come across these programs, and it's important that you get into them and you work with them. So all those things I feel demonstrate your passion. If let's say you are into law, there are definitely a lot of debate programs. There are a lot of intensive law programs that you can participate in. But it all starts when you have a general structure that I want to do law, I want to do engineering. So I think that's the first place to start.
Okay. All right. Now, I mean, you're 2 years away. Let's say fast forward 5, 10 years. What problems do you see yourself solving? And where is this passion leading to?
There are a lot of things on my mind. A lot of things on my mind that I want to get involved in. But they all mainly will be engineering.
Okay.
Engineering, perhaps energy wise in the energy sector, because so at Ashesi, um, in one of the programs that I did, one of the classes, which was FDE, we had for a whole semester during my time for a whole semester we had to work on one problem, and that was the erratic power supply, the doomsor in Ghana. And the more we spent time with this, I was like, it is this serious, where you realize hospitals are there where there isn't enough electricity, and because of that lives are lost and all of that. So that is one thing I hope I get involved in the future. um and the next thing is perhaps chip design, in the sense that in Ghana, we consume a lot of technology, but I don't understand why some basic things cannot be done in Ghana. For instance, we're not saying we're going to build like a supercomputer chip or something, but let's say there's a remote control to a TV, something that basic. You don't need you don't need a GPU to, operate a remote control or something like that. So I think that level of chip design or some form of consumer electronics should be well established. Maybe it is, but I just don't know, or I've not come across anything like that. So a more robust system like that in chip design and energy. But those are two huge fields. So I'll narrow it down and perhaps consider a third one.
Uh, okay, so I mean, before we move on to our last segment, do you like uh what is the ambience like in your class in the engineering cohort with all the talk about AI, agentic AI, you know, what is going on? What are you people talking about? The computer engineers. What are you for a moment scared that where things are going, we may end up not having
Mm.
a lot to do because now AI is doing all the coding, they are building apps, they are
Yeah,
doing things. How are you guys feeling? How is the discussion around AI?
it's a good question, and I think it will depend on your major or what you plan to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, computer engineering sits at, I'm biased, but at a sweet spot, and that's because we can do a bit of software and we can do a bit of hardware. So yes, we know. I mean, at this point, I feel everyone is getting well aware that AI will definitely take over coding, or at least all of coding, or a huge part of coding. But AI is going to run on hardware. Somebody has to design the hardware. And luckily, computer engineers are capable of working on that or working in the industry with respect to hardware. So, for at least me as a computer engineer, it is exciting. It's exciting because we need more capable hardware. If you look at things, there's the race to get much more powerful hardware, more optimized hardware just to run AI. We are getting niche or specialized processors just for running AI. And the fact that somebody, a human, somebody has to design it is secured for us as computer engineers. But for computer scientists, I feel like they always adapt. They always adapt in the sense that it is one of the it is a long-standing program. Um, Many years when the calculator came into existence, perhaps we thought math would be math would just cease to exist because calculators can do the work. But we adapted, we changed curriculums, we improved things. So I know CS students will adapt. Maybe immediately there will be a light shock, but everyone adapts eventually, and that's the good part. So it
Yeah.
is both exciting and scary.
Okay. So this is our final segment. It's rapid fire, one question, one answer. So what is your biggest surprise about Penn, about University of Pennsylvania?
Um, hmm, I think the flexibility, the
Mm-hmm.
flexibility, um, like there's a need for more to be more responsible than I expected.
Yeah.
Like all the structure that we have for you, you pick your classes, you make your schedule and all, and everything is on you. Assignments, everything is on you. It isn't a cultural shock, but it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. They
Nothing.
offer you that element of independence for you to
Yes, right from
improve the
freshman year.
yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's all on you.
I agree. Okay. Hardest class so far.
Hardest class so far. Um, there's one that I'm taking, circuits modeling and optimization. The difficulty is like, is it 3.7? But the work required is like out of four. Yeah. So in 10 people, more than 9 people found it to be very demanding. That is the class I'm taking currently. And there is one that I think almost everyone finds difficult, which is Sys 160. It's a discrete math. Well, that's what we
Okay.
thought. There are no in the math, and it's algorithms. It's like rewiring your brain to process algorithms, which isn't that easy if you look at how the brain works. So Sys
Okay.
1600, and I took it in freshman year, so it was kind of tough.
Okay.
Um,
Biggest culture shock in the US.
I think the parties feel, but that's because I'm not much of a party person. It feels wild, because I speak with friends. They're like, "What are you doing this Friday? What are you doing this weekend?"
Mm-hmm,
I'm
mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
"No, you're tired. Shouldn't you be resting or something?" But no, no. Despite a very busy week, the weekend is the best time to go to parties, and which is very good. But I prefer to rest when I'm tired. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a shock to me.
Okay. Most useful resource for you Tutoring center, study group, office hours, club, library. Where?
Most useful resource so far is ed discussions,
Okay.
because you have the TAs. It's like you have the TAs and all students and faculty in one STEM group. So if you have any question, you first have the option to ask as an anonymous participant or with your name. But the point is, whatever question that you are asking related to the course will get answered, where you don't have to go to office hours necessarily or have to email, unless it's personal, of course, where you have to email faculty for answers. Maybe an exam is coming, you're wondering, are we going to cover everything we've done in the semester, or we are looking at the first half or the second half? It gets answered. I think it's like rapid response, like an ChatGPT rapid response, but this
Mm-hmm.
one verified faculty. It is their time and they are making sure you get access to the right information. Very useful.
Okay. One habit you have dropped and one habit you have added.
One habit I have dropped is work life balance. And when I say this, there's always a lot of arguments. And the thing is, I feel like freshman year, sophomore year isn't the time to be sleeping 8 hours, 10 hours every day. Like, rest is important. I tried that. I looked at the semester. I was like, wait, I can't keep doing this. And the analogy I draw is like thinking of getting retirement on your first day of work. At some point, you need to do something and think about the reward later on. Of course, we're not saying sleep 2 hours a night or don't sleep at all, but it shouldn't always be that, oh, I didn't get 10 hours of sleep every night, I miss it. No. So that is something I dropped after freshman year. I realized, nope, this is not good for me. Oh, so work life balance, no. Do the work. We'll think of the balance when you graduate or something. And one habit that I added on was finish things that you start. So the ALU project that I built, ordinarily I could have thought of building maybe a RISC-V core, a CPU, or something more complex. But I realized within constraints, if I really want to finish what I've started, then it needs to be something within, engineering limits, right? So,
Yeah.
and looking at the fact that I'm building with discrete components, I don't plan to build sequential circuits with discrete MOSFETs. So,
Okay.
finish things that you start. Yeah.
All right. Best advice you ever received.
Best advice I ever received. There's a number of them. Low key, the best advice I received was that you can't get things to be perfect, because at some point in freshman year, I hit a slight problem, which is the fact that, let's say there's an assignment, and the assignment, I tell myself, okay, I don't really feel I know enough to do this assignment, because my model is that when I'm doing an assignment, it's more like an exam. I'm not looking at any resource because I'm proving I understand it to myself. But the problem is that every assignment has a deadline. So if you don't feel ready, that's fine, but the clock is ticking. Um, so the best advice was do it anyway. Even if you don't feel ready to do the assignment, still do it. You were never going to feel sufficiently ready anyway. So do it now. Do it anyway. If you run into trouble, reach out to your friends, text faculty, find resources, find help. But this is Penn. Things are not designed for you to know everything 100%. It wouldn't make sense, and you shouldn't be here, because then there would be nothing to learn. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, do it anyway.
Okay. Biggest difference in how students dress on campus.
Students dress. I think it's weather dependent.
Yeah.
Weather dependent, but I don't. I feel like it's very similar. Maybe there's less what I would refer to as cultural from a Ghanaian background. There's less of that. Everything is formal, semi-formal, max. You don't see any form of dressing where, oh, this is distinctively Ghanaian or this is distinctively so so and so. You
Mm-hmm.
don't really see that. Everything is just semi-formal, casual, and that's it. Academics is next in priorities. So
Okay. All right. Last question. If you could invent a device to solve one annoying student problem, what would it be?
if I could invent a device to solve, I think a reminder. A reminder because I know there are a lot of reminders, a lot of productivity apps. My problem is, let's say I forget to set, um, or let's say I add it to my calendar. What happens is every time I have to manually add everything to my calendar. That's one. And number two, I'm not so sure why, but I can't seem to figure out how to change the reminder notification from the 10 minutes default to, let's say, an hour or something. I remember one time, was it an assignment or there was this important thing? I thought it was the next day. Apparently, it was that day. And the reminder notified me 10 minutes to the
10
deadline. I'm
minutes.
like, how am I supposed to draw up this intent? Like, what is the point? So I think a dedicated assistant that can keep reliable track. There are a lot of them, but I've tried some of them. I genuinely did not like them.
Mm-hmm.
It cost me a lot of things. So something that is reliable, something that I know if there's anything that requires immediate action from me, it will be on the calendar and it will notify me. Like if it's a midterm, notify me 2 weeks and all. We could do it manually, but fortunately, there's no time. It's only 24
Yeah.
hours.
All right.
You get
So
more hours.
I think we've covered a lot of the main items. I mean before you go, I know how busy you are with academics. Final words to your colleagues back in Ghana, your those who are in who have taken a strong interest in your academic progress, your old school Achimota, and the
Yeah.
entire Ghanaian community.
To the entire Ghanaian community, I'm very grateful. And sometimes it get overwhelming in a good way when I see a lot of support because I'm like, this was meant to be a dorm project, for instance. And there are a lot of people who are happy. They're like, we're so happy. You are doing this, you are doing that. It's been an interesting journey, and this is just the beginning. But the fact that people put in their time and their efforts to even say a word or two for everything that I do, I'm very grateful to each one of them. Those at the forefront who I get to talk to, very grateful. And I know there are a lot of, because I also admire things that I don't necessarily comment or anything. To everyone, I am genuinely grateful. And it keeps me running. There are times when you are tired, you're like, nah, let's not be tired today or something. So it is like energy for me. And to other students, I think exposure is important. There are things that you can do only if somebody says it's possible or when you believe it's possible, first of all. There are some things I wouldn't do because I know it doesn't make any sense to attempt that. But once you are told this is possible, apparently you can do this, or somebody has done it in the past, and so you can do it too. That alone is enough to drive a lot of things. Um, I don't know why it's so powerful, but it works for me every time. So yes, they shouldn't be intimidated by anything that feels too in quote advanced. They can do it too. There was never a doubt they could do it too. They just have to do it. So that's what I have for them.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for your time and for joining us. Share your journey at halftime, second year. I'm sure we'll continue
Yes.
talking as you progress through your career. The spotlight is now on you much more than ever because everybody wants to know what happens to our,
Yes.
our Rasta. science students who want a case
Yeah.
against Achimota. Anyway, so thank you so
Yeah.
much for your time, and
Thank
hopefully
you.
we'll get in touch very soon.
All right, sir. Thank you.
All right. So that is the episode with Tyrone Marhguy, who is a computer science engineering student at University of Pennsylvania in the USA. Story is fascinating, so I'm glad that you've been able to listen. Um, this is the Scholars Table. My name is Dr. Banda Khalifa. Until next time, bye bye.